A 30 caliber cartridge with powder charge weights approaching 95 grains. Am I crazy? I certainly hope not. Gavin Gee here from UltimateReloader.com. I'm talking about the big, the bad, the bold 300 Remington Ultra Magnum, or 300 RUM for short. This cartridge, in terms of common cartridges in use today, is, I believe, second in case capacity for 30 caliber cartridges. 95 grains of powder. That's over double what I would load in a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 308 Winchester, something like that. And if we put this up next to the familiar 223, it dwarfs it. It's a beltless design. This is a heavy-hitting cartridge, and the rifle platform I'm going to use for this mini content series is this Remington 700 long range. Now, budget rifles are kind of all the rage right now. Budget rifles, budget rifle platforms, all of that, right? And they're really great. But a lot of them implement a very familiar formula that is heavy on features, but light on quality. It comes with a flimsy stock, it might have a subpar bore, but you got to kind of skimp somewhere, right? This Remington 700 long range uses a different formula, and that's to focus on the fundamentals. It's heavy on quality and light on some of the extras and the features. It features a Bell & Carlson stock. This is a stock you'd want to invest in. It's not an inexpensive stock, but it's on a rifle that would have a street price of maybe $600 if you searched around and got a really good deal. It's got the familiar Remington 700 action. If you haven't already checked it out, you should check out my 224 Valkyrie Remington 700 semi-custom build. It was factory action, benchmark, handcrafted barrel, hand-lapped, and I used a KRG Bravo stock. This is my favorite rifle to shoot, and it's my most accurate rifle. And now that I'm tooled up for the Remington 700, I've got the action wrench, I've got the takedown tool for the bolt. I can kind of do whatever I want. And the aftermarket for Remington 700 is insane. It's like the bolt action equivalent of the AR-15. If you want a different trigger, if you want scope rails, if you want anything for it, a thicker recoil lug, you can find it, and it's all very affordably priced. This rifle here, the 300 RUM version, has a 26-inch barrel with 1 in 10 twist. Now, I will note, last night I put this action and barrel, the whole barreled action, on the lathe. I chucked it up, I got it all dialed in, and I threaded the muzzle. This rifle doesn't come with a threaded muzzle, so I just did that quickly. It's something that you can have your gunsmith do. I threaded it 5/8 24. I left the crown as is because I want to see how this rifle shoots as is. And this is just an inexpensive AR Stoner AR-10 style muzzle brake. I wasn't willing to shoot 300 Remington Ultra Magnum without a muzzle brake. And this rifle also has the X-Mark Pro trigger. I'm going to throw that on the trigger scan and get a trigger scan graph. This is a great fundamentals rifle, and I plan to use this in 300 RUM for bear hunting this season. It's going to have some serious knockdown power, but hopefully with the muzzle brake it won't have that knockdown power in my shoulder to the same extent. So this post is going to be kind of focused on the rifle, getting it all kind of set up and equipped and taking it to the range for the first time, and then I'll have some reloading content, and then further down the road I'm going to use this rifle as the basis for one of 2 300 PRC rifle builds. Hornady designed 300 PRC to work well in a budget rifle and in a high-end rifle. It's because of the chamber geometry, it's because of the way that they've designed the cartridge. It's forgiving, it's accurate, it's very potent at very extreme long ranges. But there's some special considerations for 300 PRC, like your magazine length and having the right long action and all that. This rifle should be the ideal donor rifle. So if you have a rifle like this and you want to build a rifle, you're going to want to follow that series. So make sure that you're subscribed with notifications. So we'll take the rifle to the range and get it all equipped in this video. We'll do some reloading, and then we'll do some sort of upgrading, gunsmithing, all that. It should be a great series, and if you have specific requests or ideas, please let me know. Let me walk through kind of what is in the box. So the rifle as pictured, minus the muzzle brake and without the muzzle threading. The owner's manual, there's a little Allen key for adjusting the X-Mark Pro trigger, and there's a gun lock. And what I do with the gun locks is I throw them in the trash because I put my guns in a safe. I would encourage you to do the same thing. And I've also got some parts here. Evolution Gunworks. This is their 20 MOA long action Remington 700 scope rail. And I like the 20 MOA feature because if we're shooting at 1,000 yards or whatever, we're going to get maximum elevation. We might even shoot beyond 1,000, who knows. We're going to get maximum elevation potential out of the scope with a 20 MOA rail. I've also got their low profile 30 millimeter scope rings that should work great with that rail. So I'll have to look through my optics collection, to see what's going to work well with that. On the components and reloading side, I've got the HTP copper hunting ammunition here. This is 180 grain Barnes TSX. I might have to take this hunting. I know I enjoy hand loading my hunting cartridges, but I've heard some pretty good things about those Barnes bullets. And then I've also got some Magnum powders. I've worked with Ramshot. They've got Accurate Mag Pro. And then we've got Ramshot Magnum, and I'll be looking at what load data is going to work. If you have something you'd like to share for 300 rum, please drop a comment. I would love to read that. I've got some Lee 300 rum dies here. I've also got a set from RCBS. So I'm pretty well set up. Let me take a moment to throw on the scope, the rail, the rings, all that stuff, and then we'll head out to the range. Well, there she is. She's ready for the range. I cannot wait to shoot this rifle. And to get it ready, I did a few things. I put it on the trigger scan, and before putting it on the trigger scan, I backed out the screw, and it turns out it was pretty much backed all the way out from the factory. I ran a 3-pass analysis on the trigger, and the peak force averaged out at about 5.28 pounds, a little bit more than what I'm typically used to shooting with. And I ran a few patches through the bore. I really like my Tipton carbon fiber one-piece rod with the ball bearing supported handle. I use these exclusively, and I wanted to get the bore completely cleaned out so that I could take a look with the Hawkeye. Just got the Hawkeye bore scope. This thing is absolutely amazing. There's really no substitute for it, and took a quick pass at looking at the quality of the bore from the factory. And it looks good. Some tooling marks, not a whole lot. And I took a look at the chamber. Everything looks like it's ready to roll and it's going to work well there. I installed the scope, and the first thing you do there with a factory rifle like this Remington 700 is just tiny little screws that plug up the holes where the scope-based screws go. So I took those out, put on the Evolution Gunworks 20 MOA rail, and put on the ring bases, the ring caps. This is a Vortex Viper 4-16, and it's going to be a good basic scope to get started with. I will note I'm pretty particular about following the manufacturer's guidelines for the torque settings for the scope base, for the ring bases, and for the ring caps. They're going to be different values. I use the Wheeler Engineering fat wrench, and I'm very particular about making sure that I incrementally work up to those torque values. Like on the ring caps, for instance, alternating from the 4 corners and making sure that you preserve even gaps on both sides. So I made sure that I had good eye relief. Everything should be ready to roll, and that means we're ready to go to the range. So let's do it. I got all set up to do my bore sighting. Everything completely ready to roll, and I ran into a problem right away. When I was mounting the scope, I thought, wow, this is looking really, really low. In fact, I even picked a scope with a profile that was going to work with those low rings. I didn't realize it until I got to the firing line, but the power ring was actually touching the Picatinny rail. So, slightly embarrassed, I went back to the shop. I put this scope on. These are some taller Vortex rings here. This is a Vortex Viper 6-24x50, similar scope. Went back out to the firing line, did another bore sight, and was pretty confident that I was going to be lined up pretty well. So I turned on the shot marker system. I got everything all ready to roll and got ready for that first shot. Now, again, I put a muzzle brake on. This is an inexpensive AR Stoner brake. It's like under $30. And I was still kind of bracing myself a little bit. I haven't shot 300 rum before. I've shot 7 rum mag and some other stuff. And when that first shot went off, I was delightfully surprised. Here it goes. That's not bad at all. My brake is awesome. Stiff. Stiff, people. Standard deviation of 4 for 3 shots. Not bad. So with the first 3 shots out of the way, I proceeded to do a complete cleaning of the bore with a wet patch and some dry patches. My process for this break-in was going to be 3 shots clean, 5 shots clean, 5 shots clean, and so on and so forth. And what I ended up doing was fire forming 20 rounds. And there were a little bit of unexpected things. 300 round will heat up a barrel pronto. I mean, hot to the touch in 5 shots. So I had to wait quite a bit of time between strings, but I was able to get a string of 5 that shot pretty well, even for breaking in the barrel and fire forming. Let me show you that. So my first real try at a good 5-shot group with this rifle and factory ammunition, everything in factory form except the muzzle brake, was just over 1.5 MOA. And that was with the Remington HTP 180 grain factory ammo. Barnes solid copper bullet. Not a bad result, but I felt like there was a bit more potential there. More potential mostly with my shooting. Again, I'm not used to shooting heavy magnums all day. This is the biggest magnum I've ever had. So what I did was a few things. One, I put on an Elfman tactical trigger and I set it down to about 1 pound. That took out that sort of 5.25 pound variable from the equation. I also put on a bipod with spiked feet so that I could load the bipod. I went to a prone shooting position and I swapped out my rear bag. This time I tried the core locked Remington ammunition. This has got the 180 grain core locked bullet. So after a little bit of practice, I went and I shot another 5-shot group, again with the shot marker system. Let me show you that result. Now we're talking. Now we're talking sub-MOA results. Every rifle I have has a file. I take a manila folder and I put all of the key targets in that folder. What I'm doing with the shot marker system right now is I'm putting up paper targets with spots so that I have everything captured in real time with shot marker, and then I also have paper targets to verify. So did you notice when I shot those shots that literally 2 of the shots on the target had 2 shots going through it? So 2 holes, 4 bullets went through there. Kind of odd, but I verified it on paper and with the shot marker system. So that 5-shot group that I just shot came in at 0.949 inches when I measured it with digital calipers, which is 0.9 MOA. Now we're talking. Pretty much a factory rifle, trigger upgrade, and a muzzle brake. Factory ammunition, sub-MOA for 5 shots, not 3. But it gets even better. When I was setting up, before I had the shot marker system running, I had a slightly better group, and that was 0.827 inches for 5 shots at 100 yards, which is 0.789 MOA. And that was again with the same 180 grain core locked Remington factory ammo. So I'm confident in saying that with more shooting and more practice and more massaging of my heavy Magnum shooting formula, that this rifle with factory ammunition is sub 0.8 MOA for 5 shots at 100 yards. And I'm happy with that, but of course, I'm not going to be content with that. So the next step with this project is to do some reloads. And I'm pretty confident that with some reloads and more practice, the results are going to get even better. If I'm at 0.6, 0.7 inches for 5 shots at 100 yards, that is a great formula for hunting. Up to 400 or 500 yards, whatever it happens to be, I feel confident with for black bear, for instance, that kind of thing. And after that, we're going to rebarrel this rifle for 300 PRC. Can't wait. I hope that you'll subscribe with notifications because I've got a lot of great related content coming up, including a full custom 300 PRC build, and I'll also be doing a 6.5 PRC build. So if you have stuff that you want to see, please drop a comment. If you have feedback about this rifle, please drop a comment. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have one? Does it shoot great? Let us know what you think of this cartridge and this rifle, specifically for long-range hunting. That's kind of what I'm thinking. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Until next time, happy shooting and happy reloading.